Nof Clipper, hi friends, Darth Momo here. And the reason I'm here is because I saw Star Wars Theory, he's a very popular YouTuber in the Star Wars realm, and he put out his review for the Acolyte Episode 4, and he makes a few claims and comments that I just kind of wanted to address. I normally wouldn't make a video like this, I normally wouldn't really care, but he's got a lot of influence, and I just don't want him putting out any misinformation, or I don't want him rallying like people against one thing when he's completely overlooking something else, if that makes sense. You know, hypocrisy. I don't like or care for hypocrisy at high levels like that. So we're gonna react and comment on his review. Let's take a look.
Oh boy, episode 4 of The Acolyte. There's a lot of ways for me to do this breakdown. We can jump right in, go scene for scene, get into it, which we're going to do in maybe a little bit. But I first want to address the elephant in the room. They brought Ki-Adi-Mundi back. The episode is essentially a long hike for both parties. May and Star Wars Snape, Potions Master, and the Jedi hoping to find her. Now, there's a lot of different things in this episode that really contradict not just Star Wars as a whole, but even previous episodes of The Acolyte. Now, I thought the last week took the cake for the most lore-breaking cringe that I've ever seen in Star Wars.
That was kind of funny, I'll give him that.
But this week seems to do something else interesting as well. Bringing in the man who defies this entire show by his line in The Phantom Menace.
My only conclusion can be that it was a Sith Lord.
Impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
Hoping to add a level of acceptance if he's involved in this show. Because obviously, you know, him having said that line is a big detractor in this show's possibility. But if he's in the show, it retracts any claim against what he said in The Phantom Menace.
Okay, I don't necessarily think that's what they're going for, maybe, and even so, I don't think that's necessarily true. If it breaks canon, it breaks canon. There's no black or white around it. You know, them trying to bring him in isn't gonna fix anything, and even so, we haven't gotten to the end of the show. We're only halfway through the show. So for him to make a claim like that, you know, if he wants to speculate and say that, okay, that's fair. But he's not doing any of that. He's just outright saying, yeah, this is what they're doing and this is why they're doing it. What's your evidence? Why do you think that? This literally could have just been cameo for the sake of cameo. If you're going to say that these writers are that dumb, then why do you think there's all this malintent behind it? If you think they're that dumb, then they're probably just not even thinking about it when they're doing that. See, his logic doesn't even add up, but let's go ahead. Let's keep going.
Which then in turn makes the show valid.
Hard to see the dark side is.
But no, it only makes matters worse. Not only is Ki-Adi-Mundi knowing about the dying of the Jedi being a major problem, but it's also the fact that he wasn't even born yet. That is, until Wikipedia went in real time during the live stream to quickly change the birth date of Ki-Adi-Mundi in the hopes that no one would notice.
He wasn't born yet. In the Legends material, a lot of stuff just kind of got moved. A lot of the basic stuff like that, like homeworlds and birth dates, etc., just kind of got moved over into the canon without actually having canon source material to back it up. It was just to fill in the gaps on Wikipedia with the whole canon reset. So, no, it doesn't break canon because there is no actual canon that establishes Ki-Adi-Mundi as having been born at a certain time frame. That was in Legends. That is not under the Disney canon. So no, it does not break canon. As for Wikipedia changing that, there are literally like nerds out there, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing at all, but there are literally like Star Wars nerds out there that are just obsessed with this kind of thing. There are lots of people that are into... You yourself are making a big deal out of the canonicity of it. That's what these people are doing. They get the new canon information and they update it, you know, as soon as they can. Like, there are people who... That is just what they love. They love the little facts and minutiae of Star Wars lore like that. Who cares? Like, you make this seem like some big conspiracy. No, there's new official information, so they're updating it to make sure it's current with the canon. Like, this guy's trying to make something out of nothing. But let's keep going.
When even their own system said that this was an error, I found it to be quite interesting how they quickly added in his birth date.
They're in the middle of updating it. Like, you're not going to fix an entire web page in the blink of an eye. Of course there's going to be errors for a little bit. I went and looked a couple hours later. It was completely smoothed out. So, and this isn't like these are paid people. This is just fan work. It's a wiki. It's literally Wikipedia, but for Star Wars. So, I like, it's not like some paid professional screwed this up.
Error. God damn, they were quick to get on that one, eh? Look at that, boys.
Someone get in there! We have to update it to Leslie Headland's shit lore that she just created and manipulated.
This is official lore. Like, you don't have to like it. You don't have to hate it. It's like, if you don't like it, that's fine. You're entitled to not like that. But, well, that's the official lore now. So I don't know why. See, this guy's just, he's freaking out. He's literally, he accuses, you know, some of these people who like the Acolyte, or some of these people, and you know, he accuses some of these people of being like man babies and stupid and just, oh yeah, I'll just do what I want, right? And, you know, being stupid like that. But this is literally what he's doing. He's acting like he's saying they're acting in this particular instance.
But then you scroll down to the shit that they updated. Biography was born prior to 132 BBY. Huh? I don't understand. How was he born before 132 BBY? But here they
if you can't comprehend that they're in the middle of fixing it, then, like, you're in the middle of an episode. Give them a minute.
Where the showrunner has no idea what Star Wars is. But thankfully, they left the Legends date. That just
Wait,
doesn't matter.
what did he say right there?
Where the showrunner has no idea what Star Wars is.
Or maybe you don't know what Star Wars is because you don't even understand the basic facts of what's canon, what's not canon, and how to differentiate that. What?
But thankfully, they left the Legends date. That just doesn't matter. Because whatever Leslie Headland says now is canon. If he's not alive, I'll make it happen. In fact, let's just add an extra 40 years. Anyways, the Jedi end up having...
Wait, so you're saying, oh yeah, because they left Legends intact, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter because now we got to go with what's official from Leslie Headland. What? Like, are you serious right now? You are a big George Lucas fanboy, and I understand. I am too. I love and respect George. But when he does something that's official with, like, let's say the prequels, for example, with Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones, and that goes against what the Legends material has already established, by your logic, we need to reject George, and we need to go with what was already established in the EU, which George has said is not canon to his stuff. Disney has said that the EU is not canon to what they're doing going forward. So to make a big deal out of this is completely absurd and ridiculous. And I almost want to say you're borderline insinuating a scenario. I mean, you complained in a video today that, you know, Wikipedia and other columnists are going after you for inciting this, which I think was a bit far-fetched on their behalf. But you're going to make that claim when you absolutely have, like, I think a majority of his fans are nice people and just don't like the state of Star Wars. But there's absolutely some people who take his words to heart and are going to go out and cause an issue. And I would say he's almost like inciting that by he's rousing these people for something that doesn't need to be a controversy. And then he plays the victim, 100% the victim, and acts like, whoa, why are you coming after me? I didn't do anything, which, again, I think that's pretty far-fetched for these columnists in Wikipedia to go after him and say this is all his fault. But I think for him to act like he has 100% zero responsibility about any of this is a bit far-fetched as well. I mean, let's take this a step further, though. You know, the Clone Wars, which I'm pretty sure Star Wars Theory loves and enjoys, and he would stand for that as something that George created. Well, let's take the Season 7. I'm pretty sure he loves Season 7 and the Siege of Mandalore. I know he does. Okay, well, that goes against what Legends established about Anakin and Obi-Wan during, right before the Battle of Coruscant. So, is that, you know, are we just needing to throw out Siege of Mandalore? Like, your logic doesn't make sense here. And again, you're making a big deal out of something that doesn't need to be made a big deal of. But let's keep going. Oh, well, I should say he's going to get into his review of the episode. I'm not really that interested in that stuff, so we'll kind of just fast forward through. But let's go.
Meeting, and they discuss May as the one who killed the 2 Jedi Masters. They realized Sol didn't tell them that the twin sister of Osha exists, and has spent the last 17 or so years training under a Force user they assume is a Jedi of their own. Now, Ki-Adi-Mundi is there, even though he isn't supposed to be born yet for another 39, 40 years.
Okay, we get it.
Who cares? Let's just throw him in and change his info so that when he dies in Revenge of the Sith, he's more like 110 instead of 70, like what was originally established. All to...
Okay, well, what was that established by? A reference book that wasn't even, like, it's not even canon? As for, you know, him being old in Revenge of the Sith, okay, Yoda's almost 900. Who cares? Like, get over it.
Just retract his line on the Phantom Menace, because if he's here, it all makes sense then.
Okay, the show hasn't even wrapped up. Like, we don't know what they're going to do with that. And even if we're taking off the 4 episodes that we already have, he is so far convinced that the Sith are just, they're gone. That's not even a thought to him. That line's right in with Phantom Menace. In Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon brings up Darth Maul being a Sith Lord, and that's why Ki-Adi-Mundi is like, the Sith have been extinct for a millennium. Like, why are you even thinking about this? That's Ki-Adi-Mundi. Literally, the Sith is not even on his mind. That's why in that scene, everyone's like, this is obviously a rogue Jedi. Like, she's poorly trained. It's probably a rogue Jedi, or it's just some random guy. Like, the Sith aren't even a concern to them. So, I don't even understand your point here.
He's the key to making this show plausible. Let me tell you guys something. It doesn't make it plausible. Him being alive also creates another issue.
It doesn't, but again, he just can't let that go.
That there was a twin of a former student of the Jedi Council that was essentially born exactly like Anakin was when he made fun of Qui-Gon when Qui-Gon came to them saying, I found a virgins in the Force, Chosen One prophecy. They all made fun of him, including Ki-Adi-Mundi.
You refer to the prophecy of the one who will bring balance to the Force.
I don't presume to.
But you do. Oh. Trained as a Jedi, you request for him.
And not only does he know about 2 children that were made this way, but he now also realizes that Sith has now been around. A Sith is killing Jedi. And he doesn't even tell anybody about it. And if he does, well, maybe we'll know about it in the next few episodes. But I don't think we know about that in The Phantom Menace, because you can't change that one. The other thing that's weird...
Okay, that's a lot to unpack there. Let's unpack that. First off, I don't think the Jedi know that Osha and May were created through the Force. The witches say that to the witches alone. The Jedi aren't near in that scene, so he's making a claim, but he's not even basing his facts right. Second off, they're making fun of Qui-Gon for assuming Anakin's the Chosen One. It has nothing to do with him being born of no father. But again, like... The Jedi, if the Jedi don't know that, the 4 Jedi that were on that planet with the witches, if they don't know that, then there's no way Ki-Adi-Mundi knows that. They just know that the kids were there. Third off, you know, even if they end up rolling with the idea that, oh, Ki-Adi-Mundi knows that he's a Sith, which, as of this point, Ki-Adi-Mundi doesn't know that this guy's a Sith. Nobody, we the audience don't even know for sure if this is a Sith or not. This could just be you know, the apprentice of the Sith apprentice. We don't even know, right? But he's not only making that assumption erroneously, but even if they're going to roll with the idea that, oh, Ki-Adi-Mundi knew and he just lied and he's just, you know, blowing smoke out of his butt in The Phantom Menace just trying to cover his tracks, why is that a big deal to you when George Lucas did the exact same thing with the Jedi in the Clone Wars? In the Clone Wars, the Jedi find out that Dooku created the clone army. And they pretty much just are like, well, that's a big problem. We're just not going to tell anybody. And that's not an issue to you? But if Disney does it, then it is? Let's keep going.
Is that he now knows a Jedi Master, which Master Vernestra believes it was a Jedi Master that trained May, has gone rogue. And we don't hear about this at all in The Phantom Menace. And look, I'm all for...
Why is a rogue Jedi relevant? Count Dooku basically just walked away from the Order and Like, that's not brought up in the Phantom Menace. You know, we talk about the Lost 20. We don't know when those 20 took place. Like, you know, the idea of a rogue Jedi doesn't in the Phantom Menace, we're concerned about the Sith. One Jedi out of thousands going rogue, who cares? Like, that's not relevant to the Phantom Menace at all.
Expanding the stories, expanding Star Wars. I was very on board with Mando and some of the other projects. But some stuff like this is so, not even half-baked, that you gotta sit back and be like, no, that just doesn't work. I'm sorry. That just does not fly. It's just crazy that Ki-Adi-Mundi knows someone has been...
If he personally doesn't like the Acolyte, that's fine. That's fine. That's okay. If he personally doesn't like how it interprets Star Wars or runs with it, that's fine. He can lay out and make his case. But if he's gonna build his case on erroneous statements and misinformation, especially with the base that he has, that's irresponsible. I'm sorry, but that's irresponsible. And he's just creating, you know, chaos for no reason. If he just wants to spit out a video and say, hey, I don't like the Acolyte, I don't think it lines up with Star Wars because of this, this, and this, that's fine. You know, fact check him, agree with him, whatever. You know, that's fine. But for him to go out and say, this breaks canon because of this, which isn't true, and because of this, which also isn't true, and because of this, which is just an assumption, and because of this, when the show isn't even complete, and then say, this factually just screws with Star Wars and we need to reject this? No, come on, man. Chill.
Killing Jedi, and that a Jedi Master has trained her for the last almost 2 decades. And whether he ends up telling Yoda or not, if they want to change that up in the show too, because at this point, why not? It completely detracts from his line in The Phantom Menace, when he and the Council disbelieve a Sith Lord could return.
In this, which, again, this is assuming that that's the direction the story's going to take. But rolling with that, then we're just okay with that, even though in episode, or we're not okay with this, but then in episode 3, when everyone's just like, yeah, we don't know who this Palpatine guy is, and, you know, things are, or we don't know who this Sith Lord guy is, and, you know, things are kind of getting heated on the battle, and I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi, when the Jedi know that the Sith created the clones from the Clone Wars, and that's fine, because it was from George. Like, again, he's not only making erroneous statements and spreading misinformation, but then he's also being extremely hypocritical, because... what, he doesn't like Disney Star Wars? That's okay if he doesn't like Disney Star Wars, but don't turn a blind eye to the George Lucas Star Wars that I know you'll take to your grave to defend.
Possible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
Because now they know that a red lightsaber wielder, like the one Qui-Gon fought on Tatooine, the same one that Ki-Adi-Mundi doubted, is very much real and happening.
They don't know that. They think it's a rogue Jedi. They literally don't know. They're like, hey, bring this in. We do not know that the Jedi know this. So again, he's building this case on something that's not even confirmed. It's just speculation.
Asks to bring Osha to lure May. And he breaks character right there and becomes his true self. I'm pretty sure he's the Sith Lord. And people who argue this is not a Sith Lord, okay, call it a Dark Jedi, call it an Acolyte. The point is, this dude is running around in a black helmet, plaid black, with a red lightsaber. He's killing Jedi. What should we call him? For all intents and purposes, he's a Sith. Dark Jedi.
What? Asajj was running around and killing people. She wasn't a Sith. Savage Opress was. I mean, you know, I guess he was being trained to be a Sith by Darth Maul, who was technically no longer part of the Sith lineage. But, again, I mean, they're rogue Sith at that point. Kylo Ren, I mean, I don't think he's ever claimed Kylo Ren was a Sith. Kylo Ren was officially not a Sith. Night Sisters are using the dark side and going around killing people. Like, no, just because he has a red lightsaber and he's killing people does not mean he's a Sith.
Oh no. Okay, sure.
But I do think that this is probably supposed to be a Sith, to be fair. But that's not the argument he's making.
Right, semantics. Whatever. Seems like a much more powerful Darth Maul. So what did I think of the episode? Okay, it wasn't nearly as bad as the power of one, the power of many garbage in the episode before, which had like so many instances of just what the heck is going on. But it had something that was really ridiculous with changing the date of Ki-Adi-Mundi's existence.
It didn't change anything. That wasn't even established in the canon. Again, he just can't let that go. He's literally building a straw man against Disney. He makes a false claim, and then he disproves the false claim, and then he keeps harping about the false claim. This is like failing argument 101.
You know, adding an extra 40 years to an already pre-established character, which has lore in Legends already done, is pretty insane. You know, that's pretty crazy. Just to interject this character that made a statement in episode 1 that the Sith haven't been seen.
He made a quick statement. It was very quick, but he made the statement. He gets mad about them overwriting his Legends story. Like, are you serious right now? George did that for 6 years with the Clone Wars and overwrote what the Clone Wars were originally established as in the old EU, or in the EU. George wrote over Boba Fett's story with Attack of the Clones. Like, are you serious right now? Like, even some of the stuff that I'm sure you do like Rogue One and Mandalorian and Andor, like, even that changes stuff from the old canon. Like, that, so is it just an issue when you don't like it? Then it's not really an issue, is it? You're just being a hypocrite just because you don't like it.
For 1,000 years to help purport your own half-baked story, you're just not going to make fans with that. I just don't think that that's really the right way to do this.
No, and I don't think you're going to help people be fans either when you're just going to spread lies.
Your own story in between timelines, sure, whatever, man, you know, but don't, like, resurrect characters, or in this case, what would we even say, like, make their parents do it sooner so that he would like be born.
His claim is so absurd he doesn't even know how to properly explain it.
40 years in advance? I mean, that literally would have to be like his grandparents made him. You know? Anyways, you guys understand how weird that is, right? So there's that part of it, which to me is like, okay, fine. You know, we could maybe get over that. They want to make him a little bit, you know, come in sooner.
You just spent half your review complaining about this fact, I should say, and now you're just like, but that's okay if they want to do it. Like, are you serious? You can't even be. You accused in the beginning of this review, you accused the Acolyte of not even being consistent within itself, and now you aren't even consistent within your 10-minute review. What? Star Wars Theory's a joke, guys.
Sure. Well, they can get very bold. So if you didn't know, the Jedi actually allowed Saurians, which is the species that Ki-Adi-Mundi is, to have lots of kids, and they could also have lots of wives. Their species was a dying race, Saurians, and
Legends,
so
all Legends.
It was their duty to have multiple wives and have many children. I don't think Leslie Headland would like that very much, but anyways, I guess that...
You know, it's funny, too, that he keeps trying to dip into the Legends lore and be like, see, it ruins all this, like... Okay, we're going to talk about something else from Ki-Adi-Mundi's Legends lore. In the pre-Revenge of the Sith Legends lore, Ki-Adi-Mundi was established as being a Jedi Knight on the Jedi Council, and he was the only Jedi Knight on the Jedi Council. Well, that kind of ruins Revenge of the Sith, doesn't it? With Anakin being mad about not being promoted to the Master. But we're not going to talk about that, right? We're just going to bring up Ki-Adi-Mundi's lore, Legends lore, when it goes against the Disney Star Wars. But when it goes against George's Star Wars, well then, yeah, we're obviously going to choose the George Star Wars. But he's not going to talk about that or bring that up. But he'll dig deep for the polygamy thing.
That's why his head was shaped the way it was. The man had a lot of work to do, you know, for the good of his people, of course. So, you know, there's that bringing him in there. But even with that, it's like, how do you now keep this from the council and not tell anybody? And when Qui-Gon says, you know, hey, there was a Sith Lord, you're going to question him? I mean, I feel like then, in this case, now, Ki-Adi-Mundi would be the very first person to agree with him and be like, yes, he could be. I saw this person.
Assuming he even finds out that this guy's a Sith, he believes this is a rogue Jedi. In fact, he doesn't even seem that interested in the scene. He's just... It's Vernester Rowe who's like, this is a rogue Jedi. Ki-Adi-Mundi's just like, yeah, let's get it figured out. Come on, guys.
It just messes everything up. You can't do that with characters, especially one as important, with that one line that Ki-Adi-Mundi said in episode 1.
Impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
It's really ridiculous.
And have you never heard of the... Let's say that this is true, right? And Ki-Adi-Mundi does find out that this guy's a Sith. Like, let's say that's true. Have you never heard of the concept of, like, you know, trying to cover yourself once you've dug a hole? Like, the idea that you've already told a lie and you're just gonna do what you can to cover yourself and get out of it. Like, you know, not all the Jedi in the prequels are meant to be, like, these great people. Like, they're flawed. Ki-Adi-Mundi is one of the most flawed Jedi there. So, like, the idea that, like, let's say they even roll with this, right? The idea that maybe Ki-Adi-Mundi, like, he's the first to speak. He just blurts it out. He's like, oh, well, impossible. Like, maybe he's just trying to cover up his own mistake, because that's what the Jedi are. They're flawed in this time period. But we're just going to forget that fact, too, right?
It's so cocky, it's so arrogant in my
You're cocky and arrogant.
Take a character that George wrote, put him 40 years ahead of his time, and make him...
George just literally, like... Most of these characters aren't even characters in this movie. Like, this isn't a character that George came up with and created this whole world and lore and backstory. No, George approved a design, threw a costume on someone, and put him in the background with a couple lines. Like, what? Like, I can't even anymore.
How completely, like, it just opens up so many... I excited to see what happens at the very end of this whole show. To finally give my full consensus on the entire season. See, you literally just admitted there, like, you don't even have the full context of the show. You're waiting for your full, you know, to give your full review. You don't even have all the information, and yet you're making all these half-baked claims and falsehoods. Like, come on, man. And how much it has either destroyed or bolstered Star Wars. And I'm inclined to go with destroyed. But hey, look, that was episode 4. Okay, so, like, he says destroyed Star Wars. Like, I just, you know, I want to hang on this for just a minute, right? Like, okay, I think Mace Windu being dead and Anakin's role in his death is a pretty important part of Revenge of the Sith, Anakin's arc, Palpatine's story, and this guy's biggest project on YouTube has been a fan film that he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on. It's a fan film that purports the idea of Mace Windu still being alive. And then also in that very same fan film, he undercuts Anakin's commitment to the dark side with having him have blue eyes and regretting being a part of the Sith and joining Palpatine. He has that in his fan film as well. And to him, that's completely okay, even though he undercuts who is essentially the main character or one of the main characters of Star Wars. And that's fine. But then for this smaller issue, this is a big deal. Look, I'm not going to say that the idea of Ki-Adi-Mundi knowing about the Sith isn't an issue. I think it is. But undercutting Anakin's arc is a far greater issue than this, you know, than this Ki-Adi-Mundi situation. And that's something he pretty much spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a fan film to do. So let's just not forget that either. But I mean, he just pretty much moves on to talk about some future things for his channel. Look, I don't really follow Star Wars theory. Okay, I tried watching some of his videos. He reminds me of a lot of the more clickbaity YouTubers out there, like Stupendous Wave and Dash Star. I don't know if you guys remember him. I'm not a big Star Wars theory fan. I never has. He seems like a nice guy, okay? He seems like he doesn't seem like a genuine like dick or anything, okay? And you know, obviously him and I have some very high disagreements on Star Wars. You know, obviously I think he doesn't like a lot of the Disney stuff. I'm a bit more mixed on the Disney stuff. I like some of it. I don't like some of it, but I think I like more than he does. Obviously, we have some disagreements on Star Wars, and that's fine. That's completely okay. And if he doesn't like The Acolyte, that's fine. I think it's just okay. I don't think it's anything great either. I don't think it's awful. I think there's been worse Star Wars than The Acolyte, but I don't think it's anything great either. So, again, that's fine if he doesn't like The Acolyte. My issue with Star Wars theory is he is one of the largest Star Wars YouTubers, and
he's gonna like rally his base off of falsehoods and claims and you know, half-baked claims and misinformation, and that's what I have an issue with. I know that the odds of this video shooting up aren't really that likely, but you know, I just want to at least like do my part to the fact that like, don't take what this guy says with a grain of salt, okay? You know, if he's just spreading his opinion, that's fine. Agree with him, disagree with him, you know, that's fine. But, you know, if he's going to make claims like that, especially after we just demonstrated that a lot of what he says isn't even true, and some of what he says is hypocritical, like, take what he says as factual with a grain of salt at this point. Maybe reconsider your allegiance or your love of him. This is, like I said, you know, I think he's a genuinely nice guy, and obviously we disagree on Star Wars, which that's fine, but I don't support him doing things like this, you know, making all these falsehoods and half-baked claims. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let's spread this around to some of these Star Wars theory followers that think what this guy says is gospel. Thank you guys for joining in. Darth Maul out, and may the Force be with you. Always. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. If you liked the video, comment down below and hit that like button. Oh, and check out some of my other videos. I'm sure you'll find them delight.